Ebert. Welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of your time. You can go ahead, sir. The mic is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. How are we all doing this morning? Do we have people with back pain? If you know you have back pain or neck pain or waist pain, just raise up your hand. I want to see if there's anybody in this call that doesn't have one kind of pain or the other. Raise up your hand. Only one person. Ah, so the other people don't have any pain. Ah, it's you see, the thing is, when we talk about tech, right? We talk about tech, we only see the good side. People are earning dollars. People are earning, thousands of dollars per month, but people don't know what others have to pass through or what you have to pass through. It's not easy, right? The way we walk in the world today, we actually are going against our nature. Our nature is not to sit down in one place, for a long time. But the world today, the work is really about sitting down, writing code for 5 hours, 8 hours, and so on. And one of the things is that if you don't really know what to do or how to manage it, you get into a situation that can be very bad for you from a health standpoint. Yes. So I can see somebody saying brain pain. I asked somebody the same question this morning. The person said their own pain is bank pain. Others are saying it's financial pain. It's not those kind of pain I'm talking about anyway. So, yeah, let me begin my slideshow, and we'll have this discussion is going to be a bit conversational. We are going to have people talk about their experiences. We are going to have people basically discuss, what they are facing, the challenges they are having, and maybe how they have managed those challenges. Now, one thing I want to tell everyone here is that I have the benefit of being experienced in this field as somebody that has been doing coding, programming, development, engineering for so many years. I have passed through almost every pain that you can think of. I'll share with you some of my experiences in the context of pain. So that's why it's very, very important for us to understand it. And sometimes when it comes, don't ignore it, but also don't get worried, right? It's something that you can handle if you understand it, but it is very, very important to understand it. So can we see my screen? Let me go and start from the beginning of the slide show. So what we are talking about today is ergonomics for remote work. I decided to title it ergonomics for remote work because a lot of us will probably be working remotely. But this also applies to people who are working in the office, right? And one thing everybody needs to understand is that it applies not only to tech people, right? It applies to everyone. It applies to anybody that does what we call sedentary work. Sedentary work, that is, you are sitting down in one place, and for long hours, you are just sitting down in one place, looking at a computer screen, doing one thing or the other, right? That is sedentary work. The human being was designed to be active, right? That is the design, not to sit one place. So ergonomics for remote work, working efficiently and in good health. That's the topic for today. So I will start with this slide. In this slide, you see trying to kind of show us, that this thing, there are different things that people face. And if you look at all the pictures on this slide, you will see pain, waist pain, hand pain, wrist pain, neck pain, back pain, you know. And the question is, how do we address this? And that is where this question on this slide comes from. What is ergonomics? So ergonomics sounds like a very big word, right? It's a very big word to some people, but it's not that big of a thing. Basically, ergonomics refers to a study that allows people to design systems that will interact with human beings in a way that is healthy. That is what ergonomics is. There are three definitions that you will see here. The first one says, a scientific discipline concerning or concerned with understanding the interactions among humans and other elements of a system. This is a very generic, definition of ergonomics, but it's not really what we want. Bring it closer to us, tech people. So the second definition comes a bit closer and says, it's a study of people's efficiency in their working environments. In other words, this one is telling us that you have to be efficient in your workplace, in your work environment, whether you're working from home or from an office or from wherever. Efficiency is a key word. But you cannot accomplish efficiency if you are having pains all over your body. So the third one brings it finally home to us and says that ergonomics is a science of designing and arranging workspaces, tools, and systems to fit the user. So you see, that's very critical, to fit the user. The user is you, sitting there, to optimize your comfort, efficiency, and safety, to prevent health issues and enhance productivity. So you see, at the end of it, it still comes back to enhancing productivity, right? But it is, at least this one is talking a bit more about your health, and safety, right? So if you see this footnote here, the word ergonomics, just for those who like to understand where the words come from, it comes from Greek words ergon, which means work, and nomos, which is law. So the law of work. So ergonomics comes from those two Greek words. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about ergonomics because there's a whole lot. People actually go to school to study ergonomics, right? It's a course on its own. So it has a lot of things involved. And one thing I want to disclose is I'm not a medical doctor or even a medical personnel, but I have knowledge of a lot of these issues, first of all, from personal experience. But secondly, at least, I've interacted with people in medical profession. So I want to start this with a small introduction. This is our human body. It wasn't designed for you to sit down for long periods without support. This is the fact. And the human body was designed to move around. You stay one place for a short time, then you stand up, you move around, you hustle, you like in the old days, you run around, you hunt, you farm, you cut grass. In those days when things were done manually, before automation and before, a lot of work was mechanized, right? We used to do things manually. And that gave a human being the opportunity to exercise the human body. So your body will be exercising in your normal day-to-day activity. In your normal day-to-day hustle, you are actually exercising in the process. But all of a sudden, we now have this new age, this industrial age, Industry 4.0, where everything was mechanized. Industrial Revolution number 3, that is Industry 3.0. Everything was mechanized, and then Industry 4.0, everything was computerized. So the work now became less of manual work. People no more have to manually, do a lot of things. Even though in Nigeria, we still do a lot of things manually. We like doing things manually in Nigeria and in Africa in general. but things get automated, and the new work, the new job of the future becomes the kind of job where you have to program automated, equipment. So we are now programmers, designers. We are all tech people. Most people here, you sit in front of a computer for hours. Your body is no more moving around. You're no more exercising that body. It is now what we call a sedentary um, lifestyle, right? Sedentary lifestyle is basically a lifestyle where all you do is mostly sit in one place. You earn a lot of money, but you are sitting in one place. And there is a danger associated with that. So, software developers often face various ergonomics-related health issues due to prolonged periods of sitting. That's one. Repetitive motion. Repetitive motion is motion I keep doing the same thing over and over again rapidly. Sitting down and typing on your keyboard is a repetitive motion because you're essentially just tapping on keys, moving only one part of your body continuously over and over again, right? Moving your mouse is also repetitive, right? You basically are doing the same circular motion round and round, all the time. And repetitive motion is bad in the sense that you don't exercise the full range of all your muscles, but it's also bad because other muscles basically just become weak and they don't move around as much. And then the third element, of course, is poor workstation setups. That is very important. Poor workstation setups. We just sit, especially people who are new. And that's the reason why we are having this webinar, to sensitize a lot of us. I must be very honest, what triggered this webinar is some conversation that I witnessed on Discord, where people were complaining that they were having back pain, and somebody was saying, manage it like that. That's how we do. I say, no, that's not how we do. I'm not going to allow that message. You cannot manage it like that because it will only get worse. And after some time, you'll not even be able to do the work. So as a developer, as a designer, even though this thing is saying software developers, but it's not really only software developers, designers, project managers, anybody that sits in front of a computer for a long time, right, will tend to have this issue. So I want to talk about some of the kinds of medical disorders and health disorders that you will get after prolonged, period of just sitting down and typing without paying attention to yourself or to your health, right? This part of the presentation is going to be very scary for some people, but don't be afraid because after this section, there'll be another section that will tell you how to solve it, right? So these are the kind of health disorders that you have. The first one is a category of disorders that are called musculoskeletal disorders, MSDS, musculoskeletal disorder. So a musculoskeletal disorder is basically a kind of health condition that results in pain, in your body, right? As a result of either over stressing one part of your body or some other part of the body. It basically comes from too much stress or too much strain on a particular part of the body without giving it opportunity to rest. It may also come from too little exercise in some other parts of the body, right? So that's what a musculoskeletal disorder is. And it is one of the key causes of, the kinds of health issues that you will see among, those of us who are doing tech work, all of us in this call. So there are three categories of musculoskeletal disorders I want to talk about. This is not all of it. It's not exhaustive, but I want to just talk about some of them. The first one is what we call carpal tunnel syndrome, CTS for short, carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, I will bring this down to us because all this one is big grammar, right? But people need to understand what these things mean. So a carpal tunnel syndrome, if you look at this drawing on the right, where I am hovering my mouse over, right? If you look at your hand, your wrists, right? In the middle of your wrist, at that joint, there is a major nerve that passes through a place called, it's the carpal tunnel. That's actually what it is called. It passes through that place, right? And that nerve provides, it connects to the rest of your hand, your fingers, every part of your hand and your fingers. And what this nerve does is what brings sensation to your hand. It's what brings sensation to your fingers, to every part of your hand, right? Now, there is what we call a ligament. So what is a ligament? A ligament is just a very strong piece of human flesh. Let me simplify it that way. That is used to join to join bones together, right? So there is what we call a ligament there, that connects your joints, that your wrist joint, right? So that ligament, there is a kind of interplay between it and this nerve. If you keep on typing, you press your hand on your table and you keep on typing or mousing continuously, what will happen is that ligament will begin to press down. It will press down on that nerve and it will begin to cause you pain, numbness, and tingling of your fingers. This carpal tunnel syndrome, I have suffered it before. The way it happens is, and some people here, if you experience it, just post it on the chat that you have a similar kind of thing. You find that your smallest finger, the little finger, this finger here, will begin to go numb. You will not feel anything. It will start with that finger. Then after some time, it will move from one finger, the smallest finger, to the two last fingers. The thing will be moving like that, small, from one finger to the next finger to the third finger. When this thing happened to me the first time, I was playing with it. I just say, okay, maybe I'm just stressing myself, this. From one finger, the thing entered the second finger. From there, the thing entered the third finger. When the thing entered the third finger, that's when I knew that there's problem. And the interesting thing is that this was when I was working as a programmer some time ago in 2004. That's about 20 years ago, or 2003, when I was working as a programmer in a company somewhere in Port Harcourt, right? And my boss had the same issue, and he was wearing this thing, and we used to laugh at him. We say, Oga, why are you wearing this thing, on your hand? He said he has carpal tunnel syndrome. We were just taking like play. When the thing entered 3 of my fingers, man, that's when I decided that I needed to do something. So I started researching on it. And that's when I found out that one of the things that causes this carpal tunnel syndrome most is this thing, this mouse. We are calling it mouse, but it's not actually a mouse. This trackpad on your laptop. I keep telling people, see, when you buy a laptop, buy an external mouse. This trackpad is your fastest way to get a carpal tunnel syndrome. And I'm not saying this to demarket laptop trackpads. They are really good, right? If you're doing small work that doesn't require a lot of, mouse and all of that, there's no problem, right? But if you are doing work that means you have to move your mouse a lot, see how this lady is squeezing her hand, right? That hand will be in that position like that for a long time without any exercising or any change in position. That situation, for me anyway, that's my own personal experience, is what led to my carpal tunnel syndrome. And how did I solve it? I solved it simply by stopping that. I got an external mouse and I started exercising my wrist. So most of these kinds of illnesses, we'll talk about how to manage them and how to solve them later on. That will be the second part of this. But this is the first one, carpal tunnel syndrome. So I just wanted everybody to understand what it is and how it happens. You start feeling numbness in your fingers. your last three fingers most of the time, or last two, or last one, right? But it's because you are not exercising that, and your ligament, the median, the carpal ligament is squeezing the median nerve and is causing you to lose sensation. So that's the first one. The second one is tendonitis. Tendonitis is simply inflammation of the tendons. What is a tendon? A tendon is the part of the muscle that connects to the bone. It's what allows your muscle to flex your bones, because your muscle has to be attached to bone so that it can control the bones, right? So typically, if you put your hand or your wrist, in this case, tendinitis often happens in your wrist or your elbow due to repetitive strain. So again, this is again due to repetition, repetitive strain. Now, tendinitis typically will be if you keep your joints in a funny angle, you are essentially straining that tendon, right? You are straining that joint because you're not keeping a natural, relaxed position. You're putting it in a strained angle. After some time, you get this thing we call tendonitis. Now, the third one is what we call the Crevon's tenosynovitis. That's a mouthful, right? I don't even want you to try to pronounce it, right? Tenosynovitis, right? It's basically a kind of tendonitis, right? It's a painful condition, but it's affecting the tendons on your thumb. The thumb is the most important. Well, I wouldn't say there's this story about fingers, and all fingers are not equal, and there's no finger that is more important than the other. So I don't want to say the thumb is the most important finger. But brothers and sisters, if you lose your thumb, you cannot grab anything, that's for sure, right? Except maybe a pool, right? So this tenosynovitis is basically a condition that affects mostly the tendons on your thumb side. So your thumb becomes painful or weak. So you see all these pictures have a meaning, right? This one is showing someone that has this tenosynovitis, right? And he has to wear this special kind of thing just to demobilize the thumb. So typically, when you have this kind of conditions, what you do is you have to demobilize that joint. You have to stop that joint from rotating for a while, let it naturally heal itself. So we'll come to that later. And then you have this tendonitis here, right? And then you have the carpal tunnel syndrome here. One thing I want to, learn this with this slide before I move out of this slide is all of these injuries are not injuries caused by shock, right? It's not like you got an accident, even though you may have them due to accident, but you can't have a carpal tunnel syndrome through an accident. It is by repeated continuous strain. The interesting thing is that you will not know, it's not painful when you are doing it once or twice. It's not painful, but over time, it accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. What will now happen is that when you try to change your hand to another position, then it becomes painful, right? So these are injuries that happen due to continuous repeated motion or continuous, maintaining of your hands in a particular strained position. That's what the key word is continuous and repeated, and it's a long time. Sometimes these things may take years before it happens, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, even 10 years, depending on how frequently you do it. But in some situations, it might even happen more immediately. So that's the first category, the musculoskeletal disorders. The next category is back and neck pain. This one, I'm sure everybody here will talk. This one is fast. You will not waste time. If you just make a mistake, back pain immediately. Because this one comes straight from your posture, right? You are expected to try to maintain good posture, right? But neck pain, let's start with neck pain, back and neck pain. It's poor posture, right? your chair that you are sitting on is not supporting your body properly. So remember what I said, the human body is not designed to sit unsupported for a long time. You can sit unsupported for maybe 10 minutes, even 30 minutes, even 1 hour if you are very fit. But sitting unsupported for 4, 2, 3, 4 hours, your body becomes weak. So then your muscles become weak, and then your joints begin to kind of collapse. So you begin to slouch, what we call slouch. That is, you relax backward. Instead of sitting upright, you kind of relax, and you now switch into strained positions, right? And if you do this continuously for a long time, what will happen eventually is that you will actually begin to get these pains. So that's back pain. Sorry, neck pain. Back pain, the same thing. If you sit, you need what we call a lumbar support. So the human spine is made up of three main sections. The cervical section, which is your neck. Then the lumbar section, which is your back. And then the sacral section, which is your buttocks. That is the lower part, right? Of these three sections, right, the lumbar is a part that requires a lot of support when you are sitting. And that's why when we later talk about workspace, setup, you need to know how you set up your chair in order to provide you both lumbar and cervical support. That is, your neck needs to be supported and your back needs to be supported. So some of these can lead to chronic pain and discomfort. And one thing that you don't want to play with is your spine. You don't want to play with your spine, because if something happens, man, sometimes even if you have the money to do a surgery, right, you're not even sure of the outcome. So you have to take care of your spine. The other kind of condition is eye strain. There's something we call computer vision syndrome. So imagine it even has a name associated with computers, computer vision syndrome. And this is because of a prolonged looking at computer screens without taking a break. So typically what happens when you are looking at a computer screen is you don't blink. You don't blink as much as you should, right? Blinking is a very important action. So I don't know, I hope everybody knows what I mean by blinking. When you are closing your eye and opening it very quickly, especially if something wants to enter your eye. If something is about to enter your eye, close your eye. Or if something has entered your eye already, right? Blinking is a natural reflex of the eye, right? And what blinking does is that it helps to lubricate your eye. Your eye needs to be lubricated. It's not supposed to be dry. It needs to be lubricated by the tears that come from your tear glands, at the corners of your eye, right? When you blink, it distributes those tears around your eye and your eye gets lubricated. But when you are looking at a computer for a long time, you don't blink because you are looking at the thing. You want to see everything. You don't blink. And what happens is your eyes become dry. That's why we're talking about dry eyes. And then you start having blurred vision because you are straining the lens. The eye has something inside it called lens. That lens is what helps you to see very well, to see far, to see close, right? Your lens can adjust its thickness, to help you see things, whether they are far away or close. That's why those of us that wear glasses, like you see me wearing glasses now, is because my lens have gotten weak over time due to age and due to computer work also. And I have to now compensate with glasses so that the things that are far away, for example, I have what we call myopia and anisometropia or astigmatism. Those are very technical terms. I will not go into those. But what it means basically is that I cannot see things that are far away unless I wear glasses. So the glasses now help me to correct for that difference or for that shortage. So when you are looking at one thing for too long, what happens is that your lens just gets strained, right? The muscles in your lens get strained. So because of that, you start having blurred vision. You even have headache. Sometimes people have headache. They don't know why they're having headache. There are so many different things that will cause you headache, but one of them is, tiredness of your eye, right? When your eye is tired and you're still straining it, right, you would end up having headache and eye discomfort. So that is computer vision syndrome, because you want to submit your task before 12 midnight. So you'll be straining your eye, you'll be looking. By the time you submit the task, assuming the headache will even allow you to submit the task, sometimes the headache will not. You have to take a painkiller. But sometimes, yeah, okay, you have to submit that. That's life, oh. That's the thing about life, this tech thing. You have to meet the deadline. And that's why CodeCamp is trying to train you that you still need to meet that 11:59 p.m. deadline, even though you may be having, eye strain. So you need to manage it, right? Don't get to the point where you have eye strain, right? So that's the other two kinds of, you know, conditions you would have. The other ones, shoulder pain, some of us, the way we keep our mouths, I wish I could actually demonstrate it, right? You are sitting in Jerusalem and your mouth is at Jericho. And then you'll be stretching your hand like this, to be managing your mouth. You are suspending your shoulder in space. You're suspending your shoulder in space just to be holding your mouth. So imagine your shoulder will not complain the first time. It will not even complain, the 10th time. But after some time, you start having shoulder pain simply because your shoulder has been in an unnatural, strained position for too long. So this, like you can see, can be exacerbated by using a mouse or keyboard without proper support. You should not be hanging your shoulder in the air because you're holding mouse. And I'm going to show us some drawings around that and how we can solve it. The other one is the lower back pain. So this is the one I talked about, lumbar, right? You have lower back pain because you are sitting for a long time and you don't have proper lumbar support. Your back is not properly supported. So remember, the human body wasn't designed to sit for too long without support. If you are sitting for a long time, you need to support it. What will happen is that after some time, after a couple of hours, right, your spine begins to weaken. The muscles that are holding your spine upright begins to get tired and you begin to collapse, as in you slouch. I'll show you pictures shortly. You slouch and you fall backwards. Your back, instead of being straight, begins to curve the wrong way. And it's curving against the natural curvature of your spine. And what will happen is that you begin to have back pain. If you do that for too long, you will end up, to be having what we call a chronic, condition. Chronic is a really painful condition that doesn't go away. All right. You have hip pain. So hip pain is from sitting, poor posture. Hip pain typically will come from you sitting and you are turning right. So just look at my video now, right? You see me, I'm sitting here, right? But my screen is somewhere here, right? I am rotating my hip by almost 90 degrees to look at my screen. You end up with hip pain. Another example, this one will also cause neck pain. If I had this one, right, where you are sitting like this, right, and your screen is a bit to the right or to the left, and you're turning your neck a little like this, and you're looking at your screen. Let me tell you my experience with this one. I ended up having to wear a neck collar. I had to wear a neck collar because I had neck pains. In fact, I was afraid that my cervical, vertebrae was having issues. My neck was spinning. I had to wear a neck collar for 2 or 3 months, right? But later on, after the thing went away, I took treatment and everything, mostly painkillers and just trying to relax yourself and everything. I got better. When I went back to sitting, it was in my office, by the way. I went back to sitting in that position and I just turned my neck small. My neck just gave me immediate feedback, saying, boss, don't try that. That's when I realized that it was keeping my neck slightly twisted to the right for 5 years. 5 years. That's what caused my neck pain. I didn't understand it. If I just started having neck pain, I didn't know what happened. But it's now I realize that, you can actually sit, you set up your office space or your this thing, and you are sitting down, and it's very nice. Oh, yeah, two monitors. That's one thing. When you have two monitors, you need to be careful. You should always have a monitor that's straight in front of you. Look straight in front of you. I was looking slightly to the right for 5 years. It wasn't telling me when I was doing it, but after 5 years, I started having neck pains, and I had to wear a collar. So um, this is because I was talking about hip pain, neck pain, same thing. You sit you are facing, your legs are facing one direction and your body is facing another direction. You need to be careful about that. Or your body is facing one direction and your face is facing another direction. You are essentially putting your joints in a non-neutral, non-relaxed position. You will eventually have pain somewhere. Okay, so that's hip pain. Circulatory issues. If you sit for too long, you start having circulation issues. Some people end up with what we call a deep vein thrombosis, DVT, and varicose veins. So deep vein thrombosis is having a clot inside a vein that is, inside your body. That's why it's called deep vein. Thrombosis basically means blood clot. That's what the thrombosis is, a blood clot, especially a blood clot that happens inside your blood vessel, which is not where it's supposed to happen. Blood clot is supposed to happen outside when you have an injury. It clots to prevent you bleeding out, right? But you have a blood clot in a vein, right? This thing causes stroke. This DVT, this deep vein thrombosis, it causes stroke. So people need to be very careful. You need to walk around. That's why we say take ego break, stand up, walk around, do exercises so that your blood will flow. Okay, your blood will flow, and that will allow again, these are not, I'm not saying this to scare people. I know people will be scared, but I'm not saying I'm scared. I'm saying this so you will know what challenges there are and you take the necessary steps. Okay. Then the last one is tension headaches. Basically, just have headaches. People call it migraines. You just have headache. This is caused by a whole lot of things, right? But um, you know, we have eye strain, stress. I don't know who is cleaning out my screen. Maybe it is to I don't know if you're tired of seeing the pictures, but I don't understand why. I'll take some time to clear this up. So yeah, you can have headaches, right? Due to poor posture. You can have headaches due to eye strain or stress, and all of that. So it is something for us to take care of. All right. So somebody raised up her hand. I don't know if we want to have this picture. Are there any questions? All right. So now, yeah, mental health issues. Well, I hear people talk about mental health issues, stress, anxiety, and burnout, mainly because you are trying to really meet up targets, meet up deadlines, long hours, and all of that. Lack of physical activity, so you have mental fatigue. Somebody just posted on this that it is what did he say? He said brain pain or something. So it's similar to that. It's similar to that. You have a situation where you are just tired, you're just worn out. So that also happens, to people. Then we have repetitive strain injuries, which is basically a general term for injuries caused by repetitive tasks, forceful exertions, or sustained awkward position. So when they say awkward position, basically a position where your body is not relaxed and in a neutral position. All right, so that is Sorry about this section. That's probably the worst section of this presentation. But it is very important so that we know the kinds of conditions and we understand those conditions. Now, what are the things that cause these conditions? There are more or less eight, I highlighted eight broad causes. One is poor posture. So simply by sitting properly, you will have solved 90% of all these pins that we are talking about. So we are going to really dwell on posture in the next slide. Just sitting properly, it's not hard. You don't even need to do too much, right? Just correct posture. The second one is the inadequate workstation setup. The second one is related to the first one because if your workstation is badly set up, you will end up with poor posture because you are sitting to adjust yourself to the workstation, right? So, and when we talk about workstation setup, people always think that you have to have plenty money to buy fancy stuff. No, it's just knowing the right thing to do. I can even tell some of you that the chair I sit on in my office is a plastic chair. It's not an expensive ergonomic chair. Maybe, well, there might be an expensive ergonomic chair that can solve my own kind of back and waist problem. But the truth of the matter is, some of these chairs that you go and buy expensive, this thing, they are just expensive for nothing, right? They may not solve your problem. And that is not because they are not good, but it's because they are not designed for the kind of problem you have. That is why this education, that's number 8 in this list. Education is very important. You need to know what kind of problem am I having? What kind of challenge am I having? And what is the way to solve it? And what is the kind of ergonomic setup that will solve my problem? You can't just go to market and buy an ergonomic chair, right? For example, if your problem is neck pain and it's because your neck is weak, your neck muscles are not as strong as most, right? And you go and buy an ergonomic chair that doesn't have a backrest, it will not solve your problem. Even if you buy one that has a backrest, sorry, a headrest, not a backrest. Even if you buy one that has a headrest, and that headrest is not adjustable, you're still wasting your time because you'll be leaning your neck back to rest. And you're now switching to a different kind of strained position. So the workstation setup is very important, but you need to understand what your own peculiar challenge is. Everybody doesn't have the same challenge. So you cannot just go and buy an ergonomic seat, or table, and it will automatically solve your problem. So you need to understand your own specific problem. I need to be able to come up with a solution. Sorry, please, I need to take a drink. All right, I'm back. That's another economic problem. You are talking and something enters your mouth like dust. Funny enough, I didn't mention dust in this presentation. Okay, so that's what workstation does for you. So workstation is related to posture. If you don't have a good workstation setup, you end up with bad posture. So the third factor is repetitive motion. So basically doing the same thing over and over and over again. When you have to do repetitive stuff, you have to make sure that you are in a neutral position. That is, you are not in a strained position. Sometimes you can be in a strained position and you don't even know. Your body doesn't tell you. There's no pain because the pain from the strain is below the threshold that your body will sense, right? Another one is prolonged sitting. So prolonged sitting, the way you solve that is take breaks, stand up and walk around. Poor lighting will affect your eyesight. your vision. So you need to also, that's another factor. Stress and mental fatigue, just the stress of I have to deliver, I have to deliver. Yes, that is true, but you need to balance it out. Mental fatigue is like your brain is just tired. Your brain is tired, but you need to keep going. So you need to figure out how to rejuvenate your brain, right? Lack of movement. And then the last one, which is inadequate training and awareness. And this number 8 is exactly why we are having this training course, so that you become aware. You know what the challenges are, you know what causes it, and you know the solution. That is very important. So let's talk about posture, the first factor. So if you look at this drawing, by the way, if you go on the internet, you see a whole lot of different, pictures, similar pictures like this, telling you the way to sit. So I'm going to try to explain this picture first before I go into, a write-up about it. So let's start with the lady on the right. Number 1, you have a flat surface, a mat that she is standing on, right? And you see, number 2, she is standing with her feet flat on this surface, right? Number 3, you see, you have, she's kind of positioned in the center of it so that she has room, to move around. Number 4, the legs are straight. They're not bent in any way, right? And the knees are straight. So this is like, 180 degrees. Number 5, you see this back, the back is arched. This is the natural position of the spine. It's curved inwards, right? If you curve it outwards, that's what I call slouching. And that's where you begin to have some kind of issue. That's number 5. Number 6, very important. You see our hands are relaxed and they are at the same level as the elbow. The hands must always be at the same level as the elbow. That's why you see this 90 degrees to 100 degrees angle between your elbow, or between your forearm and your upper arm, right? It is this 90 degrees angle that will ensure that your arms are, or your elbows are always, lined up with your wrists. Because when you are in this position, your wrists will have minimal tension or stress. So remember, the carpal tunnel syndrome is because of stressed wrist. Okay. Then number 7, you have a straight neck. Straight neck. That is very important, because if you bend your neck, you start having the neck strain, right? The cervical issue. And what facilitates a straight neck is the fact that the monitor is straight in front of her. It's lined up straight to her eyes. She doesn't need to look down. You can see that there is actually a laptop screen here, but she's not using a laptop screen, because if she's looking at the laptop screen, she will have to bend her neck and cause a strain on the neck. But rather, there's another screen, that she looks at straight. Now let's look at this man on the left. This time around, the man is sitting down. So you see that here, the knee is bent at 90 degrees, right? So the knee being bent at 90 degrees ensures that there is no pressure on the nerves on his thighs, right? Or his laps. There's no pressure here. Also, this is straight down, and you see that the foot is fully on the ground. Number 1, there is a foot mat to allow him to relax the feet, right? To relax the feet here so you don't tense. One thing that people do in the sitting position is your feet will be hanging in the air. It's not good for your feet to be hanging in the air, because if your feet are hanging in the air, what will happen is that there'll be tension. The weight of the feet will drag down your thighs, and there will now be an upward tension here. There's a nerve under your thigh that will press, and you start having numbness in your feet. Okay, so your feet should not be hanging; they should be resting, and the foot mat helps you to rest the feet in a proper position. Number two, there is a lumbar support. This seat has a lumbar support. So what I mean by lumbar support is that a support that is projecting inwards. That is, it is pushing into your back and allowing your back to relax. If you don't have something that's pushing into your lower back, what will happen is your lower back, once it gets tired, will begin to collapse outwards, and it will not form this S shape anymore. It will now be a C shape. And that C shape is what will lead to the pain. Number three, you also have the upper back rest. So it's supporting the upper back. Number four is the same as this. You have your arms or your elbow lined up with the wrist so that the wrist is not bent. You see, you can have a situation where your wrist is bent like this. Some of us, if you look at my video now, you see somebody, the way you type, either your wrist is bent like this or is bent like this, right? It shouldn't be. Your wrist should be straight. And that is what this picture is showing. Then number six, you see the back is neutral, the neck is straight. That's 5 and 6. The neck is straight. The head is straight and it's looking also straight at the monitor. Again, you see that there is a laptop monitor here, but if you were looking at this laptop monitor, right, his neck will be bent. That will cause pain. So these are the basic tips, right? And these are, I condense them into these rules. Number one, maintain neutral, natural position as much as possible. So a neutral position is a position where your muscle is not strained too much. So the neck is straight, is looking straight, it's not turning left or right a little bit. Your shoulders are straight and down. Your forearms are down. If you are sitting and your elbows are bent, your elbows should be bent at 90 degrees. Your wrists should be the same position vertically as your elbow, right? And it should be also straight. It shouldn't be bent either downwards or upwards, either inwards or outwards. Your arms and legs should be relaxed. Your feet should be on the floor and should be resting, right? Not hanging. So you minimize strain on all parts of your body. Any part of your body that is feeling strained or stressed, you should look for a position that minimizes it, right? Do not slouch, do not hunch, or do not lean over. So leaning over is like you are leaning to look at the screen. So I know there are some people that have vision issues, right? You are not seeing very well. So you have to look very close to the screen. What you are essentially doing is you are exchanging one pain for another. And the question is choose your pain. Choose your pain. I just read that recently on Twitter, right? Choose your pain. But I don't think you want to be bending. So if you have a situation where you're not seeing very well, you may have to consider getting glasses so that you don't bend forward to see the screen. So consider getting glasses if possible. Do not bend or twist the neck or the shoulders or waist. Like I said before, if you are sitting down, your feet, your legs are facing one direction. Your waist should be facing the same direction. Your tummy should be facing the same direction as your feet. Your face should be facing the same direction. Not that your legs are facing one direction and your body is facing a different direction. That means you are twisting one part of your body, right? Or your face is, facing another direction. That means you are twisting one part of your body, right? So those are some of the basic rules that you can follow, right? Face should face straight with neck relaxed, not facing downward or upwards. So don't be, if you're in a position where you're always facing upwards or downwards, that will be a problem for you later on. Your elbows and knees should be bent at 90 degrees. Your arms should be vertically down and you should be resting on arm rest. So that's a very important aspect. Arm rest. You should have arm rest to manage, to rest your arms. If you don't have arm rest, you end up hanging your shoulders and then you may end up with shoulder pain. So then have adequate support for the back and your neck in a sitting position. That means if your seat doesn't have, one way people do this is, if you cannot afford an ergonomic chair, just put some kind of foamy, firm material on your back so that, your back will be, properly supported. Same thing with your neck. Put something to support your neck so that your neck will be properly supported. Then take breaks often, right? Take breaks often. Do a little exercise during the breaks. Do stretch, right? Stretches. You can see me doing stretches here. I'm already beginning to feel something. So do stretches, do exercises, right? Um, every once in a while, maybe every hour or every 2 hours, depending on your body. Every hour or every 2 hours. Then always try to blink when you are looking. Deliberately blink your eyes, right? Because if you don't do that naturally, your eye may forget to blink because you are looking at the screen too much. There is something they call the 20-20-20 rule. That means I'll talk about that shortly. All right, so those are the rules. So you see a lot of these kinds of material all over the place telling you X and check, incorrect and correct. If I ask, I would like to do a little bit of exercise with you guys. So I want people to type on the chat. Let's look at this first one. I'm going to draw a line around it, right? I'm going to draw a red line around it. So this first one now, what are the things that make it incorrect? What are the things that make this incorrect? Somebody should type on the chat. This first one, what makes it incorrect? What do you observe? What do you observe? He's slouching, exactly. The person is bending his back. His back is not straight. That's the first one. What's the second one? His leg is hanging. His feet are hanging. They're not resting on the floor. Okay. So the third thing which you might notice is that, well, this wrist too. So that's what makes that incorrect. And he has corrected it here by sitting back straight. So you now see that maybe the reason why he was bending for is not seeing very well, right? If he leans back, and I have that same issue, right? I'm not seeing very well, so I lean forward. So if I lean back, I have to get my glasses. So if you find that if you lean back like this, you're not seeing well, it means you either need to draw the monitor closer to you or maybe get glasses. Because if not, you are exchanging eye strain. You even be having eye strain. You have both eye strain and back pain. Okay. So let's look at this second one. The second one is kind of the same thing, right? So what do you think is wrong, with this person in the second one? I've drawn a red box around it. Again, it's still the same thing. It's leaning forward too much, right? His feet are not resting flat, and his knee is not at 90 degrees. Somebody said Nabog. Yes, he's looking very closely to see where the bug is, right? So, it's always good to identify these things because it helps you that when you too are also looking at, when you're in that situation, you can correct yourself. So you see similar one, like this one, maybe this one is too small for people to see. But here you see that his neck is bent because his monitor is too low. His monitor is too low. So what he has to do is he now uses something to raise up the monitor so that he can see very well. Now, for some of us who don't have external monitor, if you say, okay, as I don't have monitor, what do I do? So what I would suggest for you is, with a laptop, one of the biggest challenges with a laptop is there's no way you can achieve an ergonomic position with a single laptop. Either if you lower the keyboard to be at the same level as your elbow so that you type without strain, then the monitor will be too low and you'll be bending your neck down. if you try to compensate for your face or your neck and raise the screen of the monitor of the laptop, maybe you put it on a very high elevation so you can see. Then you cannot type on the keyboard. What I would normally suggest to people is get an external keyboard. That one is cheap enough for you to buy. If you have to choose between buying an external keyboard and buying a display, right? If you can buy a display, that would be better. But if you can't buy a display, then get an external keyboard so that you raise the laptop up to the eye level that you will see while using the external keyboard and keep it at the level of your elbow, right? So that is very important. Okay, now let's move on to another slide. I want to move on to another slide so that we can see some other interesting stuff, right? Okay. All right. This is a very, very good slide. I like this slide because it really tells us about the back, the lumbar, right? Remember I talked about the lumbar. Don't play with your spine. Don't play with your spine. This is very important. Now, the same lady is demonstrating the good and the bad. The one on the left, so let me ask this question. Between the one on the left and the one on the right, which one is the correct posture? Just answer on the chat. Which is the correct posture? The left. And why is it correct? Why is the left one correct? And why is the right one wrong? Somebody should type on the chat. Why is the left one correct? And why is the right one wrong? Yes. So the most important thing, and I'm going to do an annotation here. The most important thing in this back is this curve. This thing, they even drew it here, even though people didn't understand. This S curve, right? That is the shape of your back. That is the shape of your spine. That's the natural shape of your spine. Now, if you change it from this S to a C curve like this, man, that's the beginning of the end for your back. You see, on this side, she's sitting, it is a C curve. It's C. She'll start having pains here because this part of the spine is now being pushed out of its natural position. It's being pushed out of its natural position. And because it's being pushed out of its natural position, it is going to cause strain. It's going to cause strain and it's going to cause pain. And if she's not careful, it will end up with chronic pain. And who knows, maybe even spinal damage, which we don't pray for. So you see the difference now. Upright posture is the good one. Strengthening the back muscle and higher productivity. You definitely have higher productivity. But here you are slouching. The person is slouching here, right? And, you know, we'll have back and neck pain because, for one, the neck is even bent. It's not straight. The neck should be straight like this, but it is now bent, right? And then you have a spinal deformity because the lumbar is out of position and, of course, lower productivity. Now, like I said, if you sit for a long time, your lumbar muscles actually begin to get tired and you begin to find yourself slouching. You begin to go like this, right? So in that situation, what you should do is support your back. Support your back with a lumbar support. So even if it's just to carry, like me, I use a throw pillow. I actually use a throw pillow. Those who know me know that. I just put a throw pillow here. And that is enough for me, supports my lumbar, right? So take note of that. It's very important. There are chairs that have this, and we'll talk about that when we talk about workspace, right? There are chairs that have this lumbar support that is adjustable. There are chairs that have it and it's not adjustable. I don't know this one, whether this one is adjustable. Interestingly, this lady was sitting on a good chair here, but she didn't lean back to take, to take the benefit of this lumbar support. This chair has the S shape also, right? And even has a headrest that allows you to rest in that manner. Okay, somebody has raised their hand. Maybe I'll take a question. Francisca. Okay. So 1 second. I am looking for my controls. All right. Francisca, I want to ask a question.
Yes, yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this position that you are demonstrating, I'm looking at the system she's typing on. Her eyes are low, like the system is not up.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, is this position entirely correct, aside the back, or maybe it's just focusing on just the back?
Yeah, I'm just focusing on the back. But very good observation. This one, okay, so what she's doing, she's not bending her neck, but there will be a tendency to bend her. She actually is looking down at the laptop, and it won't be, it's just a matter of time before she begins to bend her neck. So this is not, I'm not focusing on this. This is wrong, right? I was just trying to focus on the lumbar position. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So right. So that's just talking about posture. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is your workspace. Your workspace is very important because your workspace will actually influence your posture almost directly, right? So what are the things we should consider in workspace? There is this particular card, so many things in it. So I'll just quickly run through some of them. Number one, always place your monitor, you know, don't place your monitor facing windows because you have glare. So you want to avoid glare. That's where this window comes from. Place a monitor at 90 degrees from windows to prevent glare, right? So that's this. Then always have a light. You need lighting, because one of the issues that cause vision issues or eye strain is inadequate lighting, right? One of the factors, right? Then you see there's a document holder here to hold documents that she's typing, right? Then the monitor, the most important thing is that this monitor is raised up so that it is straight. She doesn't need to bend her neck to see the top of the monitor, right? Everything else at the bottom of the monitor, yes, with eye movement or with a little bending on the neck down, you can see, right? So the rule is always let your eye be somewhere at the halfway up the screen or 80% of the screen height, right? Then look at the distance between the monitor and the face and the eyes to avoid overloading your eyes with ultraviolet light. That's another thing which I didn't talk about, but when we get to eye issues, we'll talk about that. Wearing glasses that can block out ultraviolet is very helpful. Even if you don't have an eye problem, I don't have an eye prescription, you can wear a glasses with a plain plain description, prescription rather. That is, there is no power, there is no lens power, right? But it's coated with UV deflecting material, right? What they call I don't know what the name. When it comes to I'll let you know. Right. Then headset, right? This is for those who are doing call center work, so they don't need to use their neck to hold the telephone, right? Then of course all the seats, we will talk about seat shortly, right? In the next slide. Then keyboard is on the table and the mouse and the keyboard and the elbow are all at the same level. This is very important, right? And then she's sitting and she's resting her feet. This is 90 to 120 degrees, which is still okay, right? And the seat has adjustable height. So let's look at, this is just a summary of it. For sitting, so take away these rules. The height of your seat should allow you to rest your feet flat on the floor with your knees relaxed at 90 degrees, right? And your thighs parallel to the floor. So thighs, if you look at this man here, the thighs are like, parallel to the floor, right? Then you should have a neck support, a headrest. This one doesn't have a headrest. Now, sometimes if your neck is strong and you don't have issues, you can do without a headrest. But after some time, you need to take ergo break, right? Stand up and walk around, flex your neck, and so on. There are people who may not have difficulties with your neck. But for some people, if your neck is weak for some reason or the other, you need a headrest so that your neck doesn't get bent in one direction or the other. You need to have a lumbar support, like we've already mentioned, something that will support the S curve of your spine, so you maintain that support, that shape, no matter how long you sit. Then your seat should have an armrest, because if your seat doesn't have an armrest, your shoulder, the entire weight of your arm will be resting on your shoulder. And after so many years, you begin to have pains on your shoulder. Okay. Again, these pictures are demonstrating something. So you look at this man, right? He's sitting on a normal seat. This is very close to home, right? He's sitting on a normal seat, but you can see he uses something that he just improvised to give himself a lumbar support. This is very important. That's to show you how important that lumbar support is. You need to support your lower back, okay? So you don't have back pain. This other man, he had a seat, but that seat doesn't have enough of it, so he put something here, or it might be part of the seat as well, right? But this back support is very important, and that's why you have these arrows showing that. Here, he actually uses, this is another way you could do it. There's this thing that weightlifters normally use to tie around their waist so that they don't have some kind of muscle spasm or hernia or something. You can actually use that to support your lumbar as well, right? I typically would not even recommend this kind of seats, for people who are walking. You should have seat that has some kind of lumbar thing. But if you have this kind of seat, this seat doesn't even have a handrest, right? This kind of seat doesn't have a handrest. So even though he has been able to support his back, right? I hope people can see my mouse where I'm pointing to. But even though he has been able to support his back, right? With the, let me annotate, right? He's been able to support his back with this lumbar thing. But you can see that his shoulder is bearing the entire weight of his arm. After some time, he may start having shoulder issues. So he needs an arm rest in that location. Okay. So this is another this one on the left here is another really good image. You see the lady is balancing a book on her head. That is to tell you that your head should be so straight that your neck should be so straight rather, that you can balance a book on top of it. You can see the eye is going to the top of the screen, and the lower part of the screen is lined up with the shoulder. You can see the elbow is lined up here. There's a little decline in this, the forearm and the position of the keyboard, but it's relaxed, right? So, and you can see the wrist. The most important thing I want us to look at is the wrist. The wrist is not bent, it's not flexed up or down. It is just very straight, right? And then you have the mouse keyboard. There are some desks that will have this keyboard extension that allows you to put a keyboard on that. If you can get that one, that would be good. She now has a pillow for lumbar support. Even though the chair already has a bend, that provides the lumbar support, but it's still not enough. So she had to put in a pillow for lumbar support. The foot is flat on the floor, right? The thighs are parallel to the floor, and the knee is at 90 degrees. These are all the principles. Once you can manage to maintain these principles, 90% of those pains and issues will go away. Okay. All right. So these are just characteristics of a good ergonomic chair, right? The seat height should be adjustable. I said that already. So if you buy a chair and you cannot adjust the height, I'm bringing this up so when you are going to buy a chair, you know what to look for. If you have the money to buy a chair, it's not everybody can afford this kind of chair. But if you cannot buy it, right, these are the things to look out for. One, your seats must have adjustable height. That's number one. Then number two, you should also be able to set the width and depth. That is, you should even be able to kind of pull the seat forward, the specific seat itself. You should be able to pull it forward or back. You can actually pull the seat forward or back. That's what a lot of chairs don't have that, right? Where you can actually pull this place you are sitting on. You pull it forward or pull it back. That's number two. Then number three, you should be able to tilt the seat, so that you are comfortable, right? So that you can have that positioning of your pelvis, both laterally and transversely, right? Then the lumbar support. this lumbar support. The lumbar support should even be adjustable. There are some seats that have it adjustable, so you can adjust this curve. It can be more curved or less curved, depending on your spine shape, right? So that you don't slump. Then number 5, the backrest should be able to recline. In other words, this back should be able to fall back like this. So if you are resting, you can just lean, lay back a little. If you are not walking, you just want to rest, you can lean back a little bit. Then number 6 is swivel. So swivel means you can rotate the seat around a bit, and rotating it, there's normally this place you can rotate the seat around, so you don't stress yourself. If you want to get something, you don't twist your waist. You swivel the whole chair and turn. Remember what I said about your leg facing one direction and your body facing another direction. It's not very good for you. So you turn your whole body as a group. So this swivel allows to do that. Armrest is very important, like I said, so that you can rest your elbow and take away the strain from your shoulder. Then the material that is used to make it, it should be comfortable, well, and then of course wheels. So if you need to move from one place to the other, right, you can just use the wheels and run. So those are the kind of things you should be looking out for. Well, as it turns out, by the time you go to market to check this kind of chairs, you might find that not that easy. But whenever you can afford it, I know everyone in this call, at some point in your life, you'll be able to afford this seat. Go and pick a good one and make sure you buy it. The table should be the height that will allow your elbow to be at 90 degrees angle when you're typing. So we said that already. Sometimes you have adjustable table. The table should be organized. It shouldn't be crowded. It should be easy for you to grab things. Adjust your monitor to allow you to look straight, right? We've talked about that already, without bending your neck. If you can get an external monitor, that would be really good. But if you cannot get an external monitor, then get an external keyboard and raise the laptop. You see this, they have this interesting device that allows you to raise your laptop, up to your eye level, right? So consider that kind of device, this laptop stand that allows you to raise your laptop to your eye height, and you can see, then you use an external keyboard and external mouse. So remember, I already said for repetitive stress injuries, carpal tunnel syndrome, don't use this trackpad, get an external mouse, okay? That would help. Okay, I hope we are following, but since the video is recorded, I assume we'll be able to. All right, accessories. Yes, I just talked about that. So refrain from using laptop trackpads because these tend to cause the carpal tunnel syndrome, right? Instead, use an ergonomic mouse. So the mouse that you see on the right here is one of the best ergonomic mice that we have around. You don't move your hand around too much, and you can do everything that you can do with the mouse. If you can't get this one, which is pretty expensive, then you get the normal mouse, that all of us have. I can look at my mouse, look at my video, you see this kind of thing, right? Use a keyboard pad so that your wrist can rest on it. If you see this picture on the left here above, you see there's a keyboard pad here that he's resting the base of his palm and the wrist. So I don't have too much friction, I don't have pressure. Then place the keyboard and mouse at the same height, as your elbow, right? And within easy reach. You see this one that I put in red? This is me telling you, avoid this if possible. You see how these people are twisting their hands to use the trackpad, right? After some time, you start having numbness in one or two of those fingers. So take note of that. There are other accessories. There's this footrest, which I talked about. You can look at this. Rest, you use it to rest your feet, right? You can also use a standing desk. So for some people, standing is better for them than sitting. For someone like me, if I stand for too long, I'll start having waist pain. So probably not good for me. But if it's good for you, right, consider getting one of these things that allows you to raise up and stand. You see, this has everything, right? It raises up the monitor. She's still looking, even though it's not perfectly straight, though, right? And you can see it's actually making her neck bend a little bit, right? But you can see the wrists and the hands are at the same level as the elbow. So there isn't tension there, right? And she's standing, okay? So look at accessories, footrest, standing desk, and so on. So the last bit is the environment itself. The environment, we're talking about ambience, right? So take breaks. 20-20-20 rule is for the eyes, right? Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. That helps you to exercise your lens, the lens in your eye, right? To accommodate so that it doesn't get tired, doesn't get strained. Take short breaks every hour, to stand up, stretch, move around, do something to move your body from one position to the other, because the body is not meant to be in one position for too long, right? Perform stretches, simple stretches for your neck, for your shoulders, back, wrists, and legs. You could even have desk exercises, wrist exercises, Later on, I can share some of those for us to use. So remember to always exercise all the parts of your body, during these breaks. Yeah, more of exercise. So apart from the stretches that you do during the ego break, you can actually go and do real exercise, in the gym, right? Go to gym, do aerobics, take a walk, do marathon, whatever you like. Don't just sit there all your life, right? Do regular physical activities, strengthen your muscle, because when you sit in one place for too long, your muscles are not strong anymore. You need to strengthen them, strengthen your muscle. Focus on exercise that will target your back. This lady that is doing this back stretch, I wish I could do this. Maybe one day I'll come and try it. Shoulders, wrists. This exercise alone, she's doing all three. She's, stretching the back, stretching the shoulder and the wrist at the same time. Practice flexibility exercises to improve your flexibility and reduce tension in your muscles. Okay, eye care. So make sure you have proper lighting. Don't walk in a dark place. That's difficult in Nigeria, with all these PHCN issues. But one thing you could do is look for a backup light. So when there's backup light that can last for a long time, all of these low power lights, get those lights, right, and use them when there is no lighting, right? Reduce glare. So you should not have light behind you. That the lighting behind your windows behind your monitor will cause reflection. That's what we call glare. Glare is basically reflection of light from another source that is bouncing off from your monitor and entering your eyes. It forces you to strain your eyes just to see what is in the monitor. You already have enough stress or strain, looking at the monitor itself, because the monitor is generating light that is entering your eye, and that already has its own issues. And then you now have additional light that is bouncing from another source. So avoid positioning monitors to face windows. Rather, let them be, let the window be from the left or from the right, or maybe even from the front. From the front is not even really good, because now the sunlight is coming directly into your eyes. So it may also still strain your eyes because you're trying to look at the monitor. So from the left or from the right is normally the best way you position your monitor with respect to the window, so that the sunlight or the external light comes in from the left or from the right of your monitor. Then adjust brightness on your monitor, adjust contrast, so that you are seeing properly. You should not allow the thing to strain your eyes. If the font size is too small, especially if you have some eye challenge, increase the font size so that you see well. You don't need to strain yourself, just because you are working online, right? Yes, so the last part of it, the mental health. These days, mental health is really very important. Well, it has always been important, just that we are recognizing it, recently. So one thing to manage your mental health and to manage stress is what we call work-life balance. You should be able to set a boundary between your work and personal life. Even though these days, some of us, a whole thing is intermixed. But in a way, take time out, you know, in your personal life, take time out with your family and friends, you know, do things, take vacations, relax, you know, offload the stress and the strain every once in a while, right? Then mindfulness and relaxation is don't worry too much about things, right? Instead, focus on solving problems. If you're worrying too much about things, you just end up getting stressed, right? Focus on what you can do, focus on what you can achieve. Um, they talk about mindfulness techniques, meditation, deep breathing exercises, work on, you know, when we worry too much, sometimes you may even have blood pressure, high blood pressure, and all kinds of things, right? So learn to manage your stress, incorporate relaxation activities into your daily routine. And finally, participate in ergonomics training sessions to learn proper techniques and practices. Stay informed about the latest ergonomic tools and solutions. Regularly assess your workstation setup. Things may change, your situation may change, you know, assess it. Your condition may change, you know, you may need to reassess and change. Be aware of body signal. This is very important. Sometimes we ignore small pain. It's just small pain. I can manage and keep going. Don't manage, right? Address the pain. Understand why it is and where it is coming from. Adjust your posture. Adjust whatever you need to adjust to make that pain go away, right? And then continue the work if it goes away. If it doesn't go away, then you need to do something about it, right? Take action. Always address discomfort promptly. If you have any discomfort, don't manage it. There will be a tendency, I need to submit, it's almost time, you know. I need to meet this deadline, it's almost time. And you ignore some discomfort in your body. Because remember, repetitive stress injury is basically discomfort that is multiplied many times, that is repeated over time. That's what it is. It is not pain. Most of the time, it doesn't come as pain. It is just a discomfort. But you ignore it because it is not pain. But after some time, it becomes something else. So that is the end of this. I have another slide here that contains the same information, but just to give us a happier outlook that actually it is not as bad as it seems. If you handle it, you manage it, you will become an overcomer and you will prosper. Thank you. I hope we enjoyed the session and I expect some questions. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Let me allow people to unmute. If you have questions, raise up your hand. Raise up your hands if you have questions. Okay, so Francisca is first. So Francisca, go ahead.
Okay, sir. My question, thank you so much, sir, for this webinar. It was very informative. Honestly, I learned a lot and I love the part about exercising. Very, very interesting. Okay, my question was concerning the keyboard being down. If your keyboard is down, don't you also have to look down when you want to type? Yes, doesn't that also strain the
Well,
eye, your keyboard being
ideally,
down?
you should learn how to type without looking at your keyboard. If you are looking at your keyboard and you're typing, you are wrong. You need to go for training.
Oh, wow.
You're not supposed to look at your keyboard when you're typing. But it's a good point anyway. But you're not looking at keyboard often enough anyway. But I would just recommend people should, you know, try to learn how to type without looking at the keyboard. It's difficult, but once you get it, you feel like a master or something. You know.
Okay, that's my question for now.
All right. Okay, Chinedu, go ahead.
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the session. Quickly, I want to ask, if you don't have a window in your workspace, in your room, and you want to position your monitor, is it advisable to keep it at the left, right, or center? Which is more advisable? Towards the left, your left hand, right hand, or at the center?
Yeah, that left, right, center was like the position of the window with respect to your monitor. If you don't have a window, it doesn't matter now. You can put it anywhere. But what you need to check is, do you have any other sort of light that will bounce off of your monitor? If you do, then your monitor shouldn't be facing that source of light, right?
Oh, that's the main point. Shouldn't just fit the source of light.
Yes, that's the main point.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, Paul, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for this informative class. What I wanted to ask is, what I want to ask is, you told us that we should know the kind of posture and also the kind of setup in our workspace. But oftentimes, most of us, the shares that we buy are really like those shares that maybe like office shares where you can spin around and they're not really having that posture as per what you showed us here. Again, it is very, very hard for us to constant like there were some slide that you showed me now. It's exactly what I've been doing, like the incorrect slides where maybe you have a very big problem or you are coding, then you have an issue. You just decide to bend a little. Are you, my question is, are you saying we should not at any point in our coding not bend down or try to, sometimes you can be at a particular bug. You just want to look into like you want to look and make you see and whether this thing go on, maybe you were wrong or correct. Are you saying that we should constantly sit at that preferred position without even changing?
No, that's not what I'm saying. So again, let me step back and put it this way. This is repetitive stress injury. That is, if you are doing the same thing for a prolonged period of time, right? Now, if you are just bending forward for a few seconds or even a few minutes to look at something, that shouldn't be an issue. But if you now make a habit of always walking in that position where you are bending forward, then that is an issue. Okay? So everything I have said about positioning of hands, arms, everything, it has to do with keeping it like that for a prolonged, duration and repetitively. That is, you close work today, you go home, you come back tomorrow, and you are still resuming with that same position, and you remain in that position for 2-3 hours, 4-5 hours, and then you close work. You get what I'm saying? Over the years, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying, for example, you cannot bend your in a situation you can bend your wrist and type on the keyboard, no problem. If you are doing 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 times or even 10 times. But if that is your permanent working posture or position, then it is a problem. Okay. All right. I don't think I have any other question. I'm not sure if Imole or IK is here to close it out. Okay, Imole is here. Imole, please go ahead to close out the meeting.
All right. So I think we can all agree that it's been a wonderful time. We've learned a lot. And if you agree with me, I'll just like us to, just give me your favorite emoji while we leave this session. Okay, so one thing I want us to take home is that in everything that we've been told, make sure you do not, when you were ignorant, you did not know that, oh, I'm not supposed to do this. Now you are informed. Make sure you do not repeat those mistakes. Make sure you take to corrections, and you have the things that he has gone through. It will not make sense for you to also go through them. So let's be informed. Let's ensure we have a good posture while we make some tech money. All right, so do have a wonderful time, everyone, and we'll call it a wrap. Bye. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. We are grateful.
Thank you.
Have
And
a nice day.
I hope that everyone will have a more helpful, working experience. What I would like to hear is testimonies from people who have applied some of these principles, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm not having pain again," or "It's not as bad as it used to be." That's what I would like to hear. So please, this is not just a theoretical lecture. It is for you to apply it and come back and tell us your own testimonials, your own stories. So that's it from me.
Yes, sir. All right. Bye, everyone. We'll be waiting on the Discord server for your testimonies. All right. Have a nice day.